Hi there, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us tonight on UpNorthLive Unscripted at 6:30. And unlike the past couple of nights, we actually have some action happening around the north weather-wise. Snow is starting to fall in some areas. Let's bring in our chief meteorologist, Joe Charlevoix. So, Joe, how much snow are we going to see? How long is it going to last? Fill us in on all the details.
Yeah, well, we have some snow passing through this evening, but actually things are going to improve tonight in terms of travel. So I think by tomorrow morning, it should be pretty clear. But then we have another round of snow coming in tomorrow afternoon and evening, and it's going to snow Thursday night. And I think not so much tomorrow morning, Maya, but Friday morning.
Okay.
It might be a little iffy for some spots. I already have I bring it up a lot. My kids are already asking, we're going to have school Friday. I'm like, you get 2 weeks off after that.
Right. Like you can make it through one more day.
Right. Exactly. So we'll talk more about that. And we'll have the forecast all the way out through Christmas. Of course, that's a week from tonight, Christmas Day. We'll take a look at that in a few minutes.
Thank you, Joe. And let's start off with a story that we have been following for quite some time now. We actually shared it with you last night. We do have a bit of an update. So controversy is playing out at the state capitol in Lansing. All House Republicans and one Democrat refusing to show up for the lame duck session, which means several bills that are there on the table face an uncertain future. One of those bills is the bill that would save Michigan tips. So Autumn Pitcher with our sister station downstate was at the state capitol today and gets us caught up on all the controversy.
House Democrats are in a rush to get bills passed that they feel matter as the time is ticking. But in order for that to happen, all 56 members would have to be in session, and that didn't happen today. One member from Detroit, Karen Whitsett, taking a stand against House Speaker Joe Tate, along with all the rest of Republicans who disapprove of his agenda. It was a near empty room today at the state capitol. Not a single Republican in session.
We want to work on meaningful issues in lame duck, like fixing our roads, saving our tips, saving our restaurant industry.
Speaker-elect Matt Hall criticizing current House Speaker Joe Tate for wasting time on ideas he says don't look out for the interests of Michiganders.
I mean, what's more important? Where prisoners are decided on where they're registered to vote, or saving our restaurant industry?
Earlier in the day, Hall held a conference in Lansing expressing his growing frustrations with House Democrats' continued refusal to address the pending elimination of restaurant worker tips.
You're going to see restaurants close. You're going to see workers laid off. And what is it the Democrats are doing?
The Supreme Court made the decision in the summertime to get rid of the current tip system and raise minimum wage to a flat rate of $15 an hour.
Prices are going to go up. I mean, you're going to be paying $25 for a burger.
Karen Whitsett, one House Democrat, took a stand against House Speaker Tate, joining Republicans and not showing up to session.
Karen Whitsett is saying enough is enough, and she's not coming in because the Democrats are not working on serious policies.
It was a bold move because hours in session went by and nothing was able to get accomplished without her vote.
The agenda that we have today is the agenda we have tomorrow.
Now, session will reconvene tomorrow, and whether Republicans show up or enough Democrats to get any bills passed, that remains to be seen. And remember, Republicans will take House majority next year, so it could be a very different looking agenda. Reporting in Lansing, I'm Autumn Pitcher.
And let's take a look at our question of the day related to the Save My Tips bill. If restaurant prices go up, would the amount you tip go down? Scan that QR code on your screen right now. That'll take you to our website where you can vote. We have 480 votes at this moment, and 60% of voters say yes, where 40% say no. And we have quite a few comments on our Facebook page. I'll read a few right now, and then we can look at some more later. But Taylor says no because I tip off the total amount of my bill. Jaron says no, it's all about the quality service I receive. There's one other interesting comment that I wanted to mention right now. Basically saying that if they are making more of a livable wage, then they would not tip as much. So some mixed reaction, as you can tell by the results for our question of the day. But we will, as I mentioned, continue to take a look at those results throughout the show. Let's turn things over and explore Michigan a little bit. It's a series that we do here up in UpNorthLive News, and we also do it with our sister stations down in Kalamazoo and Flint. But today we are in the Upper Peninsula exploring what some may call an unconventional museum that really highlights the snowmobile heritage of the Upper Peninsula. So here is our very own Up North Live's Daniel Zivian.
I'm at the top of the lake Snowmobile Museum in Nobbinway at the very northern tip of Lake Michigan. It's a museum dedicated to the preservation of historic snowmobiles, just like this one. Inside that building, there are almost 200 on display at any given time.
We've been doing a show here in Nobbinway. This will be our 33rd year of doing it. And in 05 or 06, the guys were saying, it's cold outside, it's windy outside. We should have a museum to put these sleds in. It would be a lot warmer.
The museum had humble beginnings in a rented laundromat, later upgrading to a building fit for a global audience.
Just last week, we had 5 people from the country of Norway to come here. They're doing snowcross racing in Ironwood, Michigan.
Valier says old sleds were once crucial to rural life and are easy to find.
Here's another.
They even have one of the original snowmobiles.
It's a Ford Model T with a track conversion kit on it. And this track conversion kit is called a snowmobile. You bought the kit, you put it on, or the dealer would put it on for you. And you had to put the extra set of wheels in it that wasn't powerful enough, so you had to put a second transmission or a truck rear end in it so it would power itself. That was in 1917, and then
it's a museum that runs on vivid memories with testimonials on every sled. Many visitors can plot their own childhood on 1 or 2 exhibits.
Come back and see us in February.
That goes for Valier's own family too, like for his grandson from Massachusetts.
He has a bunch of sleds at home too. And in the winter when I come up, we always run the Vikings and the old Skidoos and that. So I've been used to riding the old snowmobiles.
We get a lot of the older people that come in that remember driving this old sled or that old sled, or Grandpa had this one. I remember driving it. I ran through a fence with it, or I flipped it on the ice. And our motto is come to the museum and see the snowmobile history come alive.
In Mackinac County, Daniel Zivian, Up North Live News.
And Danny is joining us live now from outside. Danny, hopefully you're staying warm out there.
Oh, it's not even that cold. It's just the wind. It's perfectly fine out.
Okay, good. And you have a jacket, you have a hat, so you're bundled up, ready to go. So let's talk about your experience going to this snowmobile museum. It looked so cool and very interesting. What were your initial reactions when you first walked in?
Yeah, so I'd never been to this place before, obviously. I've only passed through Nobbinway a couple of times. I passed right by this place before, but yeah, going in, it starts off pretty unassuming. You get the gift shop first. Go in a little bit further, and it just kind of opens up into this huge display room. Most of the snowmobiles are in that one room, and then the racing stuff is further towards the back. But yeah, you step into this big room, all of these snowmobiles, one right after the other in these nice, neat little rows. I was pretty startled by it. And I told the guy at the front desk, Charlie hadn't arrived yet. I told the guy at the front desk, this is crazy. They've amassed this incredible collection.
So where did all the snowmobiles come from?
They really come from anywhere. I'm very glad you asked that, because one detail that I wasn't able to quite work in is that, a lot of them are made in Michigan. Michigan, before conglomerates formed, back in the old days, a lot of people were making snowmobiles in Michigan, and a lot of those relics in there are made here. But 30 of them or so were donated from a different snowmobile museum in Quebec, or perhaps not quite a snowmobile museum. It might have actually been one of the manufacturers themselves. I can't quite remember, or a little bit of both. But that donation was in the last few years, I believe. So yeah, they just sort of, it's as if they're falling out of the sky. I literally asked him, is it hard to find old snowmobiles? And he said, not really, no.
So are they still taking any sort of donations? Like if someone does have an old snowmobile that they think would be a perfect fit for this museum, can they take it to there?
I don't want to say for sure. I think you should get in touch with them, but I will say this. What was told to me is that there is a garage where the overflow snowmobiles are.
Wow.
They have run out of room in the main building. And they are talking about expansion at least a little bit. It's very early stages. Some are in favor, some are not. Mm-hmm. It's whatever. It's very early. But there's a garage where they're keeping the overflow. I think he said 6 months or so, they rotate out the snowmobiles. So if you come to the museum again, you get a different set to look at. So there's a very good chance they'll take a donation. Actually, I will say this. One thing he did say to me that I'm remembering now, it depends on the rarity and the type. There are types of snowmobiles that are more common that they've already got plenty of. I'm not an expert in snowmobiles, though. So really, the answer to the question is get in touch with them.
You're not an expert even after going to the museum?
You're supposed to be expert for the day on any story you do.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely true. But there's, you barely even scratched the surface. I was talking to Charlie for, 12 minutes, and you saw the best of the best there. And there's just so much stuff in that room. And I'm not a very athletic or, it's hard to believe given what I'm doing now, but I'm not a very outdoorsy person either when it comes to those sorts of activities. I don't ski and I don't go on snowmobiles. So there's a lot of stuff that I just don't know that I got to pick up on. And yeah, you could spend a whole day in there just learning the stuff that I only got a couple hours worth of.
Sure. So if people do want to go to the museum, when is it open? Does it cost money to go in? Fill us in on the details.
I'm going to have to shoot this off the top of my head here. It is open all year, basically. They do get a lot of hardcore snowmobile people in the winter, but during the summer, they pick up the tourists as well, going up and down US 2 between St. Ignace and Manistee. I believe it was $5 for adults. Kids get in free. It's I think you got a lot of bang for your buck, given that. There's a lot of stuff in there. But what is interesting is that coming up in February is the annual show. You heard Charlie say right at the beginning that the show predates the museum. This is going to be the, I want to say, 33rd annual Top of the Lake Snowmobile Show and Ride. It's February 14th and 15th. You spend a weekend up there. You bring up your snowmobile to show it off, and they also show off the museum. And you go on a ride somewhere inland. You take one of those, snowmobile tracks into the wilderness of the UP. And it's like a really fun bonding experience for hardcore snowmobile fans. And if you're just getting into it, there's a lot of cool stuff to see.
And I thought one of the really cool things about your story that you mentioned was when you showed the map of the little pins where people put where they came from. And it's not just people from the Upper Peninsula or Northern Michigan coming to this museum. It's people from all over the country and the world. He mentioned that people from Norway were there.
Yeah, the Upper Peninsula is such a fantastic spot. All of that, undeveloped country, all of those trails can be insanely appealing for people both here and across the pond. And it's no surprise they get that sort of traffic, especially now that they've been around for almost 20 years as a museum. Yeah. They've had time to build up that reputation. Again, they started in a rented, torn out laundromat, and we're eventually able to build a building. But you got to keep in mind, again, this is a small nonprofit essentially made up of community members who have been, collectively putting this together for years to get it to that very polished snowmobile museum that I showed you in the story tonight. They came a long way to get there.
A little fun fact, Joe mentioned that he actually interviewed Charlie back when the museum was in the laundromat. He says that all that footage was on tapes, though, so we probably wouldn't be able to access that.
You're going to love that Charlie actually said to say hi to Joe Charlevoix.
Well, there you go, Joe.
He doesn't remember the museum. Charlie was thinking about 20 years ago at one of the shows, but it was still, all outdoors. He says he remembers Joe Charlevoix being there. But maybe he was confusing it with the museum. We'll never know for sure. But he did say to say hi to Joe Charlevoix.
Well, there you go, Joe. Got a little shout out from Charlie. And okay, Danny, before we let you go, what would you say is the coolest thing that you saw or learned when you were at the museum?
I included it in the package. The Model T Ford blew my mind.
So cool.
I don't know much about, as I said, I don't know snowmobiles that well. I don't know the history until I walked in there. I didn't realize that the start of it was literally just a car modded out with sleds. That's obvious to me, but there was something very incredible about just seeing an actual Model T just sitting there with sleds.
That was really cool.
Indescribable feeling.
All right, Danny, well, thanks so much for joining us on Unscripted to share more about your experience at the museum. Go get out of the elements. Go get warm. You said you're not a big outdoors guy, so we're not going to keep you outside any longer. But we are going to take a quick commercial break, and Joe Charlevoix will have much more on the weather when we come back.
I'm Jada Johnson from Big Boys TV, and the Fish and Game Report is sponsored by Johnson's Propane.
Snow is falling in some areas across northern Michigan tonight. I'm sure a lot of us are hoping for a white Christmas. That's still a week away, so a lot can happen between now and then. Let's turn things over to Joe. Maybe he can tell us what could happen between now and then. Hey, Joe.
And in 2 weeks from now, it'll be New Year's Day coming up, if you want to look at it that way.
Yeah.
By the way, I want to go back to that story. It was good seeing Charlie in that snowmobile museum. It'd been a long time since I'd been up there, and Danny did a great job with that. But if you're ever up in the UP, it's right there on US 2. Stop in. Pretty easy to find there in Nobbinway. Let's go to Beulah, Benzie County. That was earlier today. One thing I took away from this, there's not a ton of snow on the ground there. You can see certainly that's US 31. And even in the forest here, as you look out over the hills here at Benzie County near Beulah, patchy snow on the ground. There's certainly some brown areas. We're going to get a little more of that, though, coming up here. Let's take a look at temperatures right now. A little chilly. Most spots in the 20s, a couple low 30s out there. Mackinac Island, 21 right now. Gaylord, downtown, 22. By the way, this is what it looks like in Gaylord currently. Some snow on the ground. We've had a little band of snow crossing through. There's that temperature. It feels like 13 degrees right now there in Otsego County. So let's take a look at our radar imagery tonight. We actually have a trough, a little front passing through the lower peninsula. That's kicking off some of that snow that you see right there. Here it is from Alpena right across a good portion of Otsego and Crawford counties, and also Kalkaska County working into Missaukee County, Osceola County. You can see some of the snow there. And then in the UP, we've had some snow coming in off Lake Superior. By the way, Luce County, if you're watching up there, you have a winter weather advisory until 1 o'clock tonight. We are actually going to get a break in the weather tonight by tomorrow morning. So there's tomorrow morning. Not a lot happening. And then here comes our next system, which is way up in Montana tonight. This will slide in tomorrow night. Low pressure will pass south of the area, sweeping in snow. It'll be snowy tomorrow evening. It's going to snow tomorrow night and part of Friday before that comes to an end. So snowfall tonight, highest there up around Quamadon Falls, north of Newberry. Maybe 3-4 inches there off Lake Superior. Otherwise, an inch or less tonight. But here comes the next system. And there's the snow adding up. And again, we're looking at a general 2 to 5 inches. It looks like Thursday afternoon, Thursday night through the day on Friday. And here is that extended forecast. First day of winter is chilly, 13 to 20. A few lake effect snow showers, but inland, I think some sunshine. A couple other things. Monday, some snow later in the day into Monday night. And right now, Christmas Day, it looks cloudy with highs in the 30s.
It's kind of weird to think that technically we're still in fall right now.
Yes, for like 2 more days.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Joe. It's certainly already been feeling like winter for the most part, but stay with us. We're going to take another quick commercial break, and then we'll check in with Sports Director Harrison Beebe in just a few minutes. Welcome back, everyone. It is that time of the night where we get to talk some sports with our sports director, Harrison Beebe, who is joining us live now from the Content Center. Hey, Harrison.
Hey, Maya. Yeah, pretty big event coming up in college football this weekend. Now, you might think I'm talking about the college football playoff with the 12-team field that gets started on Friday night. And yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. But folks here in Michigan, it's reason to circle Saturday down in McKinney, Texas. Fair State playing for a national championship. The Bulldogs will be going up against Valdosta State. And if those of you who know Division II football well think this matchup seems familiar. That's because it is familiar. In 3 of the previous 4 state, well, counting this year, 3 of the 4 state or national championships that Ferris State has played for, the Bulldogs have played Valdosta State in those finals, and the previous 2 went 1-1. See back in 2018 on the graphic there, it was Valdosta State winning a shootout 49-47, but 3 years ago it was Ferris winning the rematch 58-17. What is going to happen in round 3 on Saturday at 2 o'clock there? You see, those aren't the scores, Saturday and 2 p.m. Those are just the indicators of when the matchup will take place. That is down at a neutral site in McKinney, Texas. All time, you see top of the mountain there, Valdosta State's got 4 titles. Ferris State's got 2 national championships to their name. So one of them is going to add to that illustrious list this weekend, and the Bulldogs, well, if things go their way, it just might be them.
That should be a great matchup. Are folks able to watch that on TV?
That's a great question. I know in the past, ESPNU has televised the national championship, so I think it'll probably be on one of those ESPNU, ESPN Plus channels.
Okay.
If you're looking for, I know it's not on a main ESPN cable channel like a lot of people would hope for, but I believe knowing the folks in Big Rapids, there's probably a watch party going down there somewhere to be able to watch it as well.
Oh, I'm sure. It's a pretty big deal. So good luck to Ferris State. Anything else you want to mention, Harrison, before we let you go?
When we wrap up here, I'm heading on the road. I'm going to check out a good one in boys basketball tonight. Glen Lake and Harbor Springs are 2 of the best teams on the boys basketball side for the Northwest and Northern Shores conferences, respectively. So no conference bragging rights up for grabs, but it should be pretty cool to see 2 of the best from each league match up here in non-conference.
All right, Harrison, we'll go take off, head to your basketball game. We will see those highlights tonight at 11. I mean, you could have stayed for like 1 more second in the shot, but that's okay. We will be right back after this break. We'll take a look at the live results for our question of the day. Stay with us.
Salon services are furnished by Epiphany Advanced Academy in East Acme.
Our question of the day today is, if restaurant prices go up, would the amount you tip go down? We have 502 votes. 61% voted yes, 39% voted no. A few more comments I want to share with you. Andy says, if their wages go up significantly to a more livable wage, then of course the suggested tip percentage should decrease. Karen says, no matter what their wage goes up to, if they're a good server, they still deserve a good tip, in my opinion. So that'll do it for UpNorthLive Unscripted tonight at 6:30. Thank you so much for joining us. You can still go to our Facebook page to join in on the conversation. We'll see you at 11 o'clock.